Hello, everybody. This is Sophia Mona Lisa of Spotlight on Influencers. Welcome back to another episode of Spotlight on Influencers. This episode is going to be about our Florida governor, Governor Ron DeSantis. I should tell you, I am a Florida-born native, born and raised in Florida. And other than about a few years in my mid-20s when I lived in Detroit and Los Angeles, I've lived more than 55 years here in Central Florida. So I was intending, even a couple of weeks before Hurricane Ian showed up last week, to do this episode on Governor Ron DeSantis. And I was looking forward to doing this episode on him. And I can tell you that through this entire several years of the COVID PSYOP, I have felt very fortunate to have Governor Ron DeSantis working for us on our behalf to protect us and defend us from these nefarious laws that have been put into place as a result of this PSYOP. And so now we're fast forward, we've come through Hurricane Ian, and I have to be really honest with you and tell you I'm feeling very conflicted over doing this episode on Governor DeSantis. And the reason I'm feeling very conflicted has to do with some reporting that I've been watching over the past few weeks since this hurricane unfolded. And so I'm going to actually bring down this slide and I'm going to move over to my internet browser so that I can show you what it is that I'm referring to and why it is that I'm feeling so conflicted right now. So let me get this slide to come down. Having a delay with my computer response. Okay, I apologize for that delay. So I follow a journalist by the name of Michael Baxter, who has a site called realrawnews.com. And allegedly his source and or sources are high-level white hats in the Pentagon. And so I like to see what he reports on. And so starting back here on September 29th, he started reporting on the fact that special forces were sent into Florida to fight against the FEMA agents that are here that have been looting the evacuated homes of Floridians of guns, gold, and cash. He has written a half dozen articles on this topic. Here is one that I will look at more closely. Here's one where he talks about how special forces had to save a family's child from FEMA agents. They had snatched the child out of the mother's hand. They were there to allegedly rescue her, telling her that rescue has its price, and holding the child by its wrist over the water, saying, if you don't give us access to your valuables, we're going to drop her in the water. And then here's one about the Navy SEALs sinking a FEMA barge. Talks about how these barges that are normally posted off the coast of Venezuela come up to follow these hurricanes to basically kidnap people who are homeless from these storms, and then never to be seen or heard from again. And then here's one about how the special ops allegedly toppled this FEMA outpost down in Southwest Florida, and had confiscated, I think, 5 or 6 wheelbarrows full of guns that they had looted from Floridians. And I actually have a friend that lives in that area, and I've been talking to her since, September 29th. We're talking now 5 days about these stories that are being reported by Michael Baxter, asking her if she's aware of what's going on down there. And without going into all of our conversations, I will say she has affirmed that there has been high level cleanup going on down there. And so you can hopefully understand what I'm referring to. Now, here's this article that he wrote, Michael Baxter wrote about Trump, in his remarks about Ron DeSantis, saying that on Thursday, again, this is a report, allegedly President Donald Trump branded Ron DeSantis an agent of the deep state upon learning that the governor had given FEMA a chivalrous welcome to the Southwest Florida while ignoring reports of rogue FEMA agents looting the homes of displaced citizens. Goes on to say Trump is fuming mad. He knows what FEMA's done to this country. I invite you to go back for yourself and read through these 6 articles, use your own discernment, but you can understand that this is why I'm feeling very, very conflicted over doing this episode on a governor who has been highly, highly praised by most Floridians for the actions that he's taken on our behalf through this entire COVID psyop. I will tell you that, way back in June of 2021, when this Sunshine, I think that's the name of it, Sunshine condo collapse happened, and there was footage of Governor DeSantis with the FEMA agents. Even then, I got that internal signal of a red light, red flag, whatever you call it, that something wasn't right about his association with FEMA and how all of that came about, and actually even posted on multiple social media sites my concerns about what was happening there. So this isn't actually even the first time that we've seen this relationship between Governor DeSantis and FEMA come up, and so anyhow, let me just bring back up my slides. This is why I'm feeling conflicted, because let me tell you, when a soul incarnates into a physical body onto the planet, it's coming here to do a soul mission. And it knows what the soul mission is. It knows how it's going to achieve that soul mission. But, we're in these bodies. We are human and divine. What the soul, our divine nature, is desiring to do can be waylaid by what the egoic personality chooses to do. And I kind of use the analogy of a person, who is born with this incredible divine gift to be either, a world-class pianist or a world-class tennis player, whatever the gift is. But they choose not to go down that path. They choose not to enjoy their gift, but maybe not put in the time and effort it would take to become that world-class performer. And that's what can happen when people incarnate on the planet. The mission can kind of be co-opted when the personality decides to go off on another path. And I always like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and allow space for, some other possibility or explanation to show up. Is it possible that because Governor DeSantis's wife, Casey, has recently been battling cancer and they have 3 small children, is it possible that they've been threatened? Maybe. I don't know. I certainly don't have all the facts. We know that we can no longer trust what's out there, and we have to use our own discernment when we find reports as to whether or not there's any accuracy or truth to them. What I will say is, if in fact there is accuracy and truth to Michael Baxter's reporting, then I feel strongly that all Floridians have a right to know what's going on, not only with FEMA, but also between, with this relationship between our governor and FEMA. And I will tell you today on Truth Social, Kerry Cassidy actually posted the article about the Navy SEALs taking out that FEMA barge. And she posted the link from a different site. The name of that site, let me look it up here, is Best News Here. I'm not familiar with Best News Here. And it says under the title of the article, by Best News Here, let me tell you, they completely plagiarized that article from Michael Baxter, did not even give a link to his site or any credit to him as the journalist that wrote that article. But nevertheless, she did share that article on Truth Social today. So, do your own research, do your own discernment. I am going to try to look at this from an as objective a position as I can, from the highest frequency that I can, in terms of what Governor DeSantis's sole intention for his mission would be here on the planet. Quite frankly, I was going to cancel this episode, but then I thought, what the fuck? He's actually is an influencer, and so why don't you go ahead and do it? So here I am. In spite of my feelings of conflict around this situation, I'm going to go ahead and do the best job that I can for you here. Now we're going to talk about the soul tribe that Governor DeSantis was born into on the planet, and that is the Libra soul tribe. And this particular soul tribe is dedicated to restoring conscious, equal partnership between the masculine and the feminine. And so that's a really important tribe that has come on to the planet to help humanity with their ascension, because obviously balancing our inner feminine with our inner masculine is one of the first steps that we need to take in order to begin our ascension journey. So I will discuss what I see about his personal soul mission, how he intends to do that. And he's just recently had a birthday in September. Today's October 4th. So he has a brand new, what we call a solar return chart, which gives you your whole new evolutionary path from your current birthday through to your next birthday. An evolutionary path, you could say it's your ascension path, what your soul is desiring to focus on in terms of your expansion over the next year. I kind of use the analogy of when you're driving down the interstate, you're going, let's say, from Orlando to Jacksonville, and you see the mile markers along the interstate showing you how far you've come. That's kind of what happens with these solar return charts. When you're born, you have this overriding mission for your entire life, but each year you've reached another mile marker in terms of how you're getting to the goal, to the destination of completing that soul purpose and that soul mission. Now, what you'll see here is that this chart looks very different than the charts I've had in other episodes. And that's because while Governor DeSantis's birth date and place of birth are public information, I do not have his time of birth. So I can give you some information based on this chart. I cannot give you as much detailed information as I would be able to give if I knew his time of birth. But still, I think that we're going to get a good flavor of what his soul was intending for him to accomplish here through this lifetime. So here we see that the Pluto, this is the glyph for Pluto, is in the sign of Libra. That's the glyph for Libra. That's that soul tribe, Libran soul tribe. You know, we could call them the peacemakers, the diplomats, really here to restore that balance of the power struggle that has gone on between the perverted masculine energy as patriarchy and the repressed feminine energy, which is now starting to rise again on the planet. And so I look closely at the energies that are aspecting that and any other significant aspects to it as well. And with Pluto, because it's a slow moving planet, we normally use a window, or the astrological term is an orb, of 3 to 5 degrees. We make it kind of tight because it's a slow moving planet. With the faster moving planets, we will stretch that orb out to about 5 to 10 degrees. And so what you'll notice here is that this, what we call a stellium, when 3 or more luminary bodies are really closely standing next to each other in the sky. This stellium of Arthur, Mars is the sacred masculine, and Merlin is just over the window of that 10-degree orb. It goes into like 11 and 12 degrees. And so while normally we might consider that a little out of the window of influence, for me, because I'm looking specifically at his soul mission in terms of what Pluto's representing here. Pluto represents many things. The soul mission is just one of those things. To me, these influences are highly significant. And so, first of all, what it tells us is that his soul is very aligned with the frequencies of the sacred masculine principle. So if you're accustomed to that yin yang symbol, you know, the black swirl represents the yin, the sacred feminine. The white swirl represents the yang, the sacred masculine. It's that white swirl, the yang, sacred masculine principle that his soul resonates and aligns with in terms of its frequency and in its expression. And we can see here an intention to use these Arthurian frequencies and these Merlin frequencies to help him accomplish this mission on behalf of the sacred masculine. So what are the Arthurian and Merlin energies? Well, we all know the Arthurian legend. King Arthur is that wise and compassionate leader, the king who embodies the qualities of a wise and compassionate leader. And then Merlin represents Merlin consciousness, the ability to use consciousness to alchemize, right? We associate Merlin with alchemy. And so what is alchemy? We know we've heard of turning lead into gold as an expression of alchemy. And really what it means is it's taking a lower frequency and transforming it into a higher frequency. And so Governor DeSantis, as a soul being, not the personality that we know as the governor, very much intending to use that alchemical consciousness that is really another whole layer of what the Pluto energies represent, to help alchemize energies to bring the masculine out of patriarchy back into sacred masculine energies that are represented by that wise and compassionate embodiment, and into balance with the sacred feminine. So that's the mission. And we want to find out, well, how is he specifically, as a part of this soul tribe with that unique mission, as a part of that soul tribe, desiring to accomplish this? And so we look here to the North Node, and we see that it's very closely aligned with the sun. So this is another individual. I'm trying to remember, I think it was Lewis Herms who had a North Node Sun alignment, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Where this person is feeling fueled on a day-to-day basis, moment to moment, breath by breath, thought by thought. I'm on a mission. I got to accomplish this mission. Doesn't get derailed from being on the mission. Okay. Constantly feeling fueled and pushed to keep moving forward. And what's interesting is that Virgo, the sign that his sun and North Node are very aligned with the feminine energies. And I love this because, you know, with his soul being so aligned with the masculine energies and having this mission to bring the masculine and feminine energies into balance and conscious equal partnership, having this sun and North Node in a sign that's really all about the sacred feminine, being in service to the sacred feminine, gives him that, should I dare say it, that balancing energy to be able to accomplish this mission. Now, what's also interesting about the fact that the sun and the North Node are in Virgo is that Virgo is a sign that's ruled by Mercury, the cosmic messenger. And, you know, Mercury as the cosmic messenger is so much about how we receive information, how we process and integrate information, how we store information, how we recall information, how we communicate information. And we know that communication is not just verbal, it's also nonverbal. So, you know, Mercury as a planet is communicating with us in numerous ways. He communicates with our inner being. He communicates with our higher self. He communicates through our lower critical mind. He communicates with our higher mind. And he even communicates with the very DNA of every every cell in our physical body. And our bodies, in fact, use him to communicate with us. And so anytime you get a feeling about something, that is your body communicating with you. That's very much ruled by those mercurial energies. So because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, it's interesting to note, again, outside of that 10-degree orb, and also influencing these Virgo frequencies, is where he has his natal Mercury. This little guy here with the antennas, that's the glyph for Mercury. And notice that he's very closely aligned this glyph, which is the glyph for Saturnia. Saturnia is the cosmic gateway. Nothing can be made manifest on this planet and in this realm except by coming through Saturnia and being birthed onto the planet. So it's clear here, it's clear here that, again, while it's outside of that orb of 10 degrees, that there is a strong influence for him as a soul being to use communication, his ability to communicate, to facilitate achieving this soul mission. And I would even say that that what he receives from the sacred feminine that comes through him helps him to achieve that mission as well. So that's, this inner circle I've described before as the natal chart shows you what he came in as a soul with an intention to accomplish and how to accomplish. This outer soul circle here, that's the new solar return chart. And remember, without the exact time of birth, you don't see all the lines breaking up the houses. So I can't add that really rich layer of detail to this. But we can see a couple of significant things. We can see, first of all, excuse me, that right next to his solar return point, we have Yeshua standing in the sky. Remember what I've said about Yeshua. Yeshua is the son aspect, S-O-N aspect of the Christ. And it also represents the embodiment of Christ. And so we can see here from the soul level as someone who is, as a soul being who is very aligned with the sacred masculine principle, having this Christ consciousness, this inner Christ fueling and pushing him towards his completing his mission for this year and for his life is highly, highly significant. But then we also see here in his solar return chart, here's the glyph for Venus, Venus representing the sacred feminine, very closely activating his natal Mercury. Once again, reinforcing this idea that he does receive a lot of guidance and inspiration, a lot of downloads from the sacred feminine in terms of how he's working towards his soul mission, his soul purpose. Now, I've mentioned before that everybody on the planet right now has Pluto in Capricorn. And at this particular time of his birthday, Pluto is retrograde. So this is an interesting thing because it's pulling his awareness inward. And so, is he going to get those messages? And what's fascinating about this is where his solar Pluto is located. It's very closely conjunct these two luminary bodies, Lucifer and the goddess Juno. Notice that she's also retrograde, his inner goddess Juno, the goddess Juno, who is the goddess of sacred partnership. And so his attention is being drawn into her for her to get his attention. And what is this Lucifer energy about? It's about separation consciousness. And so what his soul is going to be focused on this year is anywhere within him that still exists pockets of separation consciousness that he himself needs to come into sacred partnership with, to bring them into unity consciousness, to be able to bring them into the wholeness of who he is as a master on this planet. And so this is really significant in terms of what he personally at the soul level is desiring and intending for him to do. Will he be able to do it? I don't know. If he makes 2 steps forward and 1 step back, is that significant? Yes. Everything is always happening in divine timing for us individually in terms of our evolutionary expansion, and for us as a collective in terms of the collective consciousness of humanity. And so what's fascinating here is if we come down here to look for his north node, how is his soul intending to accomplish this over the course of this year? We see that it's standing right between the moon and Uranus retrograde. And so what's happening here is a couple of things. One, the divine mother aspect of the Sophia consciousness is helping him. And in fact, these energies are in Taurus. This is the glyph for Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, the sacred feminine. So the divine mother aspect in Taurus can either be your own mother, the earth as a mother, or actually that divine mother that some people refer to as Mother Mary, or any other expression of the divine mother. And so very much those divine mother energies, however he personally relates to them. Is it possible that that's even pulling in his wife, Casey DeSantis, as the mother of his children? Very likely. It's going to be helping him be able to come into unity consciousness in all of those places within him that are still in separation consciousness. And then we've got this Uranus energy here, Uranus retrograde, again, pulling him inward. So this is significant. He's got his solar Pluto, his natal Juno, and now his solar Uranus. Three luminary bodies with retrograde energies pulling him inwards to be able to accomplish this part of the mission over this year. And we can see, if we look at where Uranus is here at almost 19 degrees, that is a trine to these luminary bodies. So these energies up here are flowing very, very harmoniously towards these energies down here and vice versa. So all of these energies are helping him, supporting him, facilitating his ability to be able to have this transformation where he is able to bring the pockets of separation consciousness within him into unity consciousness. And remember, the theme here is consciousness. Hold on, let me find my words. The theme is conscious partnership. Thank you. Thank you. The theme of where the separation consciousness that he's looking for are any of the false beliefs, any of the programming, any of the ancestral belief systems that he's inherited around, being insubservient to another, giving your power away, or even trying to control others. All of that is going to be brought, hopefully, into unity consciousness over the course of this next year. It's certainly the intention of his soul. Will his egoic personality allow that to manifest through him? We shall see. The other piece I want to talk to you about, which I normally wouldn't look to, but because of all of this influence, this emphasis on Mercury as a way that he intends for his entire life through communication to complete his mission, it's interesting to see here that his solar Mercury is retrograde. He had his birthday during the Mercury retrograde period, and it's in this sign of Libra. Now, what's interesting about this, and this might be taking you a little too far down the rabbit hole, but I'm being inspired to share this, is we just had on, I think it was September 23rd, which would have been about 10 days past the governor's birthday, the very last Mercury inferior conjunction of the past 2 years when Mercury was in its elemental air year. That's because you see here in Libra, Libra is an air sign. Aquarius over here is an air sign. Gemini is an air sign. Mercury has been moving through these air signs for the past almost 2 years. The most potent and alchemical point of its synodic cycle is that inferior conjunction when Mercury is retrograde, Mercury and the sun come to stand together in the underworld together. It's the most potent and alchemical time. And so you see, he had his birthday, just as I said, about 10 days before that Mercury in conjunct. And so this is huge because we are now getting ready to go into a period of time where Mercury will be in an earth element year. So it's significant that he still will have, over the course of next year, while Mercury is having these synodic cycles through the earth element, he's still going to be highly influenced by the air element. Why is that significant? Because the air element has to do with the mental realm. It has to do with your multidimensional self. And the not so spiritual or the more mundane version, it has to do with what we use to communicate here in terms of the internet, Starlink systems, right? These satellites, has to do with artificial intelligence. So has to do with 5G. All of those things are also manifestations of the air element. So it's interesting because at almost 8 degrees, it's within a 7-degree orb of his natal Pluto. Somehow, over the course of this next year, his soul mission for his life, right? Because this is what he came in to do over the course of his life, is going to be really transformed in terms of the way that he uses the air element to communicate with us and with his, his friends, family, etc. So I hope that that was meaningful to you. I did the best I could in spite of my conflicting feelings around him right now for the reasons I've already discussed. I will let you know that my first episode, if you haven't seen it, for this season was on Lewis Herms, the founder of the Truth Tour. I will be joining the Truth Tour on October 14th, so just 10 days from now, down in Clearwater Beach. I will be speaking there. If you're a Floridian and can get there, I invite you to come join us. And I also invite you, if you haven't seen this episode yet, to go back and watch it. Of course, this episode is on Governor DeSantis. Very open to hearing from anybody about who they would like me to do a spotlight on for the next episode. So in that vein, pardon me, if you have an idea, you can send it to me here through my contact page. And if you have an idea of who you would like for me to speak to, it would be very helpful to me if you can send me the date of birth, the time of birth, the place of birth, especially if it's information that's not in the public domain. And also it assists me by having you share these episodes with your friends, family, and social networks. Speaking of social networks, you can find me on Rumble, on Telegram. I don't have it here, but I am actually on Truth Social as well. And of course, my YouTube channel, The Roseville Mystery School. I have, I think, 6 or 7 playlists on my YouTube channel. This playlist, Spotlight on Influencers, is where you will find these episodes. So please, as always, if you could give these videos a thumbs up, if you could click on the little bell to subscribe to the channel. What is the other thing that they want you to do? Oh, click on the bell to get the notifications, and then click on subscribe. Those are the three things. Subscribe, click on the bell, give a thumbs up. If you could do that, will help me because of the, whatever programming that they use to be able to get this information out to more people. I would greatly appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining me again for this episode. And I'll see you the next time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.